All right, we're going to do Nick Cage. So I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. I'm going to be discussing a little bit of the career of Nick Cage because the movie next week coming out, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is all about Nick Cage, about he's playing himself, and how much kind of people are a fan of his work. I mean, so much so even a dictator is going to, hire him to come to his birthday and hang out with him. So, yeah, we're going to be discussing a little bit of Nick Cage. So I was
That
on
doesn't seem not plausible.
yeah,
That actually,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that seems 100% something that Nicolas Cage would do.
yeah. So I told the guys pick a Nicolas Cage movie to pick out, talk about. Also discuss some of our favorite Nicolas Cage movies. Nick, what would the Nicolas Cage movie you picked?
Yeah, I picked Ghost Rider, and I also got to talk about Spirit of Vengeance as well.
Awesome. And Dust, what'd you pick?
So I ended up picking the movies I wanted to talk about. I'm right. Two favorite action movies: The Rock and Con Air.
Okay.
Close.
Those are both excellent.
Close. The second two. If I wanted to go a little bit more downer, I would have done 8mm. I love 8mm, but it's a much darker movie. He's so great in that too. That's why he won the Oscar. And I know I saw on your list, Josh. So I'll let you have Face Off. That's also a fantastic action movie.
Off.
Yeah.
Just take his face off.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you guys have a list of favorite Nicolas Cage movies as well? Go through that.
Yes, I think I tweeted out my my 5 favorite Nicolas Cage movies. Let me see if I can find that real quick. But Josh, what are yours?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do our favorite Nicolas Cage movies. Then we're gonna be talking about maybe one in particular that we want to talk about, and we're gonna be kind of moving on there. So here's my list. No particular order really. I'm gonna do my 5 favorite Nicolas Cage movies. So I'm gonna go with, of course, Face Off. I try to really cater this list to movies that were, kind of, I'm going to try and get crazy Nicolas Cage. I want to get, really dramatic Nicolas Cage. I want to get also kind of new age Nicolas Cage because he's kind of, I think, having a good renaissance in his career right now.
He is in the middle of Cage.
Yeah, Cage-assance. So I'm gonna try to. I was trying to get as much as I can of kind of all these kind of different roles here. So I got Face Off, classic crazy Nicolas Cage. I also have Pig/Mandy, which is 2 really good new age Nicolas Cage movies that you can watch. That came out.
Both very different.
Yeah, Pig, which came out last year, which we talked about, which was on our best of list. I think that was on both our best of lists.
Yeah, it was on the best of list, and he should have gotten the Oscar nom over Javier.
Yeah. Mandy, which came out, I believe that movie came out in 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
That was 2018. I think that was like the beginning of this like resurrection of Cage's career.
Yeah, which is kind of this really cool kind of horror movie revenge film.
It's like this Lovecrafty horror revenge epic.
Yeah, which is very, very nice. So
I have ripped right off the cover of Heavy Metal.
Also got Lord of War, which is more like traditional acting Nicolas Cage, which also that movie also has Ethan Hawke in it. Talking about Moon Knight, that also has Ethan Hawke in it. So I absolutely do really love that movie, Lord of War, and also stars Jared Leto too. Yeah, Jared Leto was also in that as well. Also Matchstick Men. I think Matchstick Men, another really, I think, really great Nicolas Cage movie. Again, it's kind of combined a little bit of crazy little Nicolas Cage. But
I mean, it does have a scene in that lives forever in the memes. It's like, have you ever been taken outside and beaten until you pissed blood?
Oh yeah,
Hey,
I mean,
was that Matchstick Men or am I wrong?
was that Matchstick Men? I can't remember. Honestly, I think it was. I think it might have been Matchstick.
Oh
Men.
shit, yeah, it was. Yes,
Yeah.
it was Matchstick Men.
And this was directed by Ridley Scott. I think a really underrated one of his movies. Not many people talk about it enough. And this was also my first introduction to Sam Rockwell, who's in this as well, who does a great job in this movie. This was like one of my first introductions to him. Also, so I got that, and I also have The Weatherman. The Weatherman was also another kind of underrated to me Nicolas Cage movie. That again, not a lot of people talk about, where he plays like a weatherman and how much people fucking hate weathermen, always getting it wrong, and they absolutely abuse the shit out of him. So there's that.
So he starts carrying around a bow.
Yeah. So it's kind of a strange kind of little movie there as well. So that was kind of nice. Directed by Gore Verbinski, who people know who he did the Pirates movies as well. People might know him from that. Also did Rango, which I also love Rango. I think Rango is an amazing animated movie.
Yeah, Rango's amazing.
Yeah. What about you guys? What do you guys got?
Okay, yep. So in no particular order, my 5 favorite Nicolas Cage movies. The 100 credits that were on his IMDb. These are the 5 that stand out to me. 5 is The Croods, a movie that I think falls into that camp of has no right being as good as it is, especially with Nicolas Cage as the patriarch caveman of this family. He's just so effortlessly charming. Leaving Las Vegas, this dark reflection on alcoholism and loss and loneliness that won Nicolas Cage his Oscar. Face Off, which is one of the best madcap, insane Nicolas Cage performances, and it's only made better by the amazing impersonation that John Travolta does of him. Because I think the movie is really good, but when that face swap happens, that's when it becomes great. Next up is Bad Lieutenant, Port Call New Orleans. It's a mix of the serious actor Nick Cage, but also elements of he's losing time because he's playing a drug addict in that film and a dirty cop, and he is amazing. He is electrifying to watch. And of course, the last one that I'll talk about is Pig, one of the quietest Nicolas Cage performances, but it reminds you that he is one of our great working actors. Even if he picks projects that leave a lot to be desired, even if, and I'll get to this when I talk about Ghost Rider, even if the movie is bad, he is still giving it his all.
Yeah. Dust?
Well, I'm a pretty big Nicolas Cage fanatic, so this was really hard to narrow down the top 5. Like, really hard. Even with all the crap that he's made, he's still one of the best working class actors now, and it's honestly great seeing him get roles that allow him to utilize his talent outside of screaming and yelling, even though that's great. But this is my top 5 favorite. Is 8mm. He's one of, in no particular order. 8mm is such a quiet and reflective movie. It deals with a lot of sensitive and kind of really dark subject matter. There's such an intensity in how subdued and quiet he has to be and discovering when he discovers, and it just is a rabbit hole you go down with, along with Nicolas Cage and the character that he's playing, and it's just one of his more, I think, underrated performances, where you just see the more it does to him, the longer it goes, to the point where you're with him when he starts wanting to get kind of revenge. He wants to really unveil all of it, and it's just such a great performance. On the other side, Raising Arizona. I'm surprised none of you guys put that on your list. I love Raising Arizona. That's such a great.
That movie's so fucking good.
It is, like, just playing this mix of this white trash guy who's just doing the best he can. That's getting outside of jail, with wonderful performances from so many fantastic actors: John Goodman, Nicolas Cage. Just it's a great cast, but Nicolas Cage really just sells it as being this like helpless bumpkin, just trying to take care of a kid and trying to be a father and trying to get out of his criminal ways to do it, and struggling all the same.
Was that Coen Brothers?
Yeah, go ahead.
First,
it was a Coen Brothers.
Was that their first movie, or was that their?
It was one of their earlier ones.
Second one.
Raising Arizona was one of their earlier ones.
Oh, okay.
But that wasn't their first.
I'm trying to think, what was their first one before that one? Was it Blood Simple was their first one.
Blood Simple is definitely either their first or second.
Okay.
Blood Simple was one of their very early ones. I think 2 years after Blood Simple, or a movie after that, then it was Raising Arizona. So it was like
Blood Simple, 1984. That's the first feature directed by the Coen.
Yeah, and what a movie to start off on. But anyways, for my third, again, no particular order. Moonstruck. I really like Moonstruck. It starred Cher, and it was based on a play. The same writer who did Moonstruck, he come back and he won a bunch of Oscars for this. The movie he did before that was Joe versus the Volcano, with Tom Hanks, and shit, what's her name? She used to be in all the the romantic movies. I can't remember her name.
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan. But yes, Nicolas Cage plays the brother of the man that Cher promised that she would marry, because his brother's mother is on her deathbed. So she agrees to marry him, and but she ends up falling in love with Nicolas Cage, and it's just this funny play, is a kind of like a play atmosphere movie that really plays to his more outlandish personality, and he gives it this grounded yet just very fun and energetic performance that really just kind of brings a charming characterization to him, and is a great contrast to the more straight angled Cher. Fourth pick, this is kind of a tie, because honestly they're a great double feature, and I'm going to be talking about them later anyways, is Con Air and The Rock. One of the best pair of action movies. They're a great double feature. If you just want to see two insane balls to the wall action movies that really show his showcase as being like a genuine kind of an action hero, or a character that can pull that off, these are great examples. Con Air with Malcolm McDowell as the villain. Got Dave Chappelle as a side character. You got a plane with all these convicts on here. It's just fantastic. And explosions, and Nicolas Cage rocking that mullet with a southern accent.
That beautiful mullet.
The beautiful mullet. And with The Rock playing a nerdy and more down-to-earth scientist, is like accompanied by the legend himself, Sean Connery, who is just stealing every scene he can when Nicolas Cage is not on the screen, and sometimes they're just fighting for the scenery together in certain scenes later in the movie. And some of the best lines ever in that movie, with the "They're best, your best. Losers say they do your best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen."
Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
They do. Oh my god, just so many great moments in that movie. And then this is the most recent one, but I really enjoyed it. We've already said it before, is Pig. Pig was just such a great and quiet movie. Had I made a list, Pig would definitely been on there for the end of the year, because it was so antithesis to what I usually see for a movie, in the way that a lot of
it's so antithetical to what the movie is being sold at.
Yes, absolutely.
And what our expectations for what this kind of film is. Because I think the film is kind of sold as Nicolas Cage's John Wick, which it is not at all.
No, Pig is the best way I've described Pig to people who've asked, like, so what's it about? He's just going around beating the crap out of a pig, right? And I'm like, to find his pig. And they're like, it is the best quiet contemplation of empathy and what you give your life to. And they're like, there's like a pause, and you're like, what? And I'm like, no, it's a really great movie about someone who just asks for empathy from other characters, and you slowly get to know and unravel their character, and it's just like a way of processing life.
Yeah, it's this very quiet meditation on loss and grief, and how people deal with that.
It is
of existence as well, with the Alex Wolff character.
Oh yeah, who wants to be this kind of character, but this person, but he doesn't know how, and to the point where he doesn't even know how to cook, because he's always sucked at it. He doesn't want to.
It's a character that is smart enough to realize his own shortcomings, but also doesn't know how to overcome them.
Yeah. and just the amount that his Nicolas Cage's character, you start to learn more about him, and you start to get to know more about the pain that he's kind of in the past. And he has this fantastic monologue when they're at the restaurant with this one guy, and he just does one of the greatest, respectful dressing downs I've seen in any movie, where he never disrespectfully comes at the guy, but he puts him quietly in his place, and you're like, it is if you want to see like the most weird, it's like weird anti movies, go watch John Wick and then Pig, or vice versa, and you're just like, oh man, too negative and positive at once.
Yeah. In me talking about leaving Las Vegas, I think that's a great companion piece to Pig,
or 8mm.
Yeah. Pig is an amazing movie. Like you said, a lot of it was pitched as, Nicolas Cage kind of, going on John Wick, but it's not. It's something more like The Gray with Liam Neeson. It's more something.
I love The Gray. That's a great movie. Really underappreciated too. We need to, after this, we need to do a Liam Neeson one.
Yeah, does Liam Neeson?
I don't know. Maybe when Liam Neeson makes a good movie.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. When he's coming out.
Monster Calls was pretty good.
Monster Calls.
True. And how long ago was that?
2 years ago, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so like 10 movies ago.
Because he does a lot of the direct to streaming stuff now, he does a lot.
I do a lot of straight to Redbox features.
Yeah,
he does a lot of the geezer teasers now.
Yeah. Which Nicolas Cage has done a lot of too. He's done a lot of the straight to streaming, straight to Redbox.
Yeah, stuff, Nicolas Cage did a lot of those movies, but I think the difference is he never once phoned it in. He wasn't like a Bruce Willis where you can tell this guy clearly doesn't give a shit anymore, or a Liam Neeson where I'm just here for the money.
Yeah. Well, Nicolas Cage, he also, he never phoned it in, but he also needed money because he got a lot of debts.
Yeah,
he's been a lot of financial.
Yeah, the guy's pretty bad with.
Yeah,
but thankfully, in an interview that just came out, I think with Barstool, with Lights Camera Barstool, he talked about he did a lot of those movies mostly just to get out of debt, which he finally is now.
Yeah.
And now he's at a point where he kind of working on stuff like Mandy, on Pig. It kind of revitalized his love for acting, and he wants to work with guys like Christopher Nolan. He wants to work with guys like Robert Eggers, Safdie brothers. He wants to work with a lot of this new up and coming director talent, which I am there day one.
Yeah. More than happy to see him. You know what?
Especially like the leaked set photos of him as in that Nicholas Hoult Renfield movie. I cannot wait.
Oh yeah, the horror comedy. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Directed by Chris McKay, who did
nice.
Yeah.
One of the best quotes from I heard describing Nicolas Cage, which I utilize, was from Robert Ebert, where he said, Nicolas Cage. It's like Nicolas Cage in a bad movie is a guy. He is never the bad sign. It's always a worry when the movie is without a Nicolas Cage. So basically, Nicolas Cage salvages a bad movie.
I think the full quote was Nicolas Cage is amazing in great films and indispensable in bad films.
Yeah, that's the actual quote. Yeah, it's completely apt. He really does salvage terrible crap when he's in it.
Yeah.
It's like whenever he's in a bad movie, it's like, I'm ready, ready for the midnight baby.
Yeah, you mentioned Willy's Wonderland. I saw Willy's Wonderland. It's on Hulu. Like I said, we were supposed to talk about it. Finally checked it out. I'm not a fan of the movie myself.
Yeah, it's not good, but I had, much like I do with most of the bad Nicolas Cage movies that I end up talking about, stuff like Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
or this other movie, Mom and Dad, which he did with Selma Blair and is written by Brian Taylor.
Okay. I think I remember seeing that movie, Mom and Dad. I think I remember hearing about it. That movie, yeah. Huh.
It's a ton of fun.
Okay. Yeah. So, Dusk, you want to go ahead with your movie, Con Air and The Rock?
Oh man, I'd be happy to. So how do you want me to do it? Do you want me to just give a bare bones explanation, or what my favorite parts on it are?
Just discuss like why are you talking about these two movies in particular? What's
okay.
Yeah.
So, Con Air and The Rock came out 1 year apart from each other. Rock came out in 1996 and Con Air 1 year later. And the mid 90s was a strange point in Nicolas Cage's career. 2 years later, in 1999, 8mm would be released, and earlier than that, he'd also been in Arizona. So he'd been in this just ratcheting up in his career. And Con Air and The Rock are just two really good examples of how you utilize an actor on a crazy as crap premise. That was back when Nicolas Cage was pretty jacked. He was pretty good, pretty muscled up. And he was trying to be this action star that he mostly succeeded, and it's something that he did briefly, and then after the mid 90s and early and late 90s, it kind of faded after that. So it's these really two very peculiar and interesting showcases. Any other action he kind of in, it's very like quick cuts or. What was that one movie he was in? The one where he can look 5 seconds into the future.
Oh, Next.
Yeah, where it just wasn't the same because he just didn't have the same caliber of directing and themes to utilize him in this performance. But what I really like about Con Air and The Rock, and why I kind of put them together and side by side, is I really like that both of them are just unapologetic for kind of what they are. Both have very strange premises. In the Rock, it's convicts have taken over, these rebels have taken over, these former military people have taken over this prison, and they're threatening to release a chemical biological weapon if they don't get their demands met. And in Con Air, he is a former Marine who, due to some really BS situations that should not have had him end up in jail, he protects his pregnant wife, and in doing so ends up accidentally killing a guy, and that puts him in jail. And he's just being released. But while this happens,
Con Air is pretty trash. Honestly, it's pretty garbage.
Oh, absolutely trash. Easily argued self-defense and would have definitely gotten it. He was a decorated military man. He was protecting his pregnant wife, and he's a military man. He's literally lethal weapons. You trained him, so whatever. But anyways, that's the premise. And he's trying to come home to his wife and his baby girl, and give her a stuffed bunny
on her birthday,
and it's for her birthday.
Yeah.
Each have a very good ensemble cast. Each have an interesting villain. In Con Air, we get Malcolm McDowell, who does a fantastic performance as the Mind, and he's this, I'm such a tactician, I have this brilliant plan, and I'm gonna get us out of this situation, and all would have gone well had Nicolas Cage just kept his nose clean and just continued forward, but no. He decides to leave certain notes or leave clues or evidences, and that gets him in trouble and in danger at many points in the movie. But he's able to shirk it off and move to the end of the movie, the final action set piece in Las Vegas, which is just a fantastic practical explosion of high octane fun with an ending that is both pretty somber and kind of sweet with the "How Do I Live Without You" song playing in the background, which is just a fantastic, and added of course by side characters like John Cusack who does a fantastic job as trying to follow him along and get him home. And it's just that Con Air is just one of those guilty pleasure movies that I just love so much. But I love just because it does what it should do for an action movie. It makes the main character compelling. The villains are villainous, and the concept is just fun. And the effects are practical, and the explosions are just fun to even look at. Even now, I still enjoy it, and a lot of times it's better than most of the action movies we get nowadays. Sometimes,
yeah. Because like you
The
said,
Rock similarly. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, like you said, this cast in Con Air, you got John Cusack, you got John Malkovich, you got McKelly Williamson, who was he was
Michael T. Williamson.
Oh, Michael T. Williamson, who was people Bubba Gump and Forrest Gump.
Yep.
You got Vin Rames in here. You got Dave Chappelle. You got Steve Buscemi, Danny Trejo. Yeah, I mean it's a lot
Dave
of
Chappelle as 8-Ball.
Yeah, a lot of character actors in this that really round.
And that's what makes that movie work. The movie is full of great character actors, and it's a movie that feels like it could have been directed by early Michael Bay, and yet it somehow it makes it better. That probably it wasn't. But the interesting counter is The Rock is probably what I would consider the last really good Michael Bay film, where he was like at the top of his game, where he was able to give this really interesting kind of semi-dilemma. What I like about that one is Sean Connery does a fantastic performance as this grizzled character, and Nicolas Cage comes in as this really a scientist who's a chemical bioengineer who really doesn't have a lot of action experience, and they both have to work with each other at a certain point to move further in as the people that come in with the leader of this specific SWAT team, led by Sean Bean from fame of Terminator, is Kyle Reese, and also for those old enough, he was
that's not Sean Bean. That's Michael Bean.
Michael Bean, whatever. Michael Bean.
Completely different people.
I know. Michael Bean. Yes, Michael Bean. Sorry. He was also in Aliens. Aliens as Hudson. I know. I get those names mixed up for some reason. And anyways, the villain of the Rock is also very interesting because he actually gets some more layers than you thought he would. He's not just a mustache twirling, oh, I want money. It's something a little more to that. He wants respect, and he wants to honor people. As a general, he lost troops and men and women, and he wants the U.S. military to recognize that. And he's going to extreme ways because they weren't being honored. They weren't being respected. And it brings up some interesting questions while in the middle of this crazy action movie taking place on an island. But I chose both of them because they're just good, fun movies. And just well made.
Stack cast in The Rock as well. You got John C. McGinley, who people know he was in what was that show? Scrubs. He was in Scrubs.
Scrubs.
Ed Harris, famous like character actor as well. We've seen him. We just saw him in The Lost Daughter. He's also in Westworld. He's the villain in that. You have David Morse, also another great character actor there. Tony Todd, Candyman. You got swole ass Dave Chappelle, Bokeem Woodbine, who I guess swole ass Dave Chappelle is just regular Dave Chappelle now. But
now he's the good Dave Chappelle.
Yeah. Now he's the good one now. Yeah. A lot of stat cast of William Forsythe is in this. Yeah, another stat cast of character actors, just like with Con Air there.
Look, I need to rewatch Con Air. I haven't seen it in forever.
It's such a great time. The ending with Steve Buscemi, absolutely perfect. Just a great overall fun movies, and that's why I chose to talk about them. And I'd be more than happy to show them to anyone who's ever interested.
Oh yeah, I might take you up on that someday.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and Sean Connery. I mean, this is he's basically just James Bond in this, basically. Doing that kind of stuff. Which was pretty cool to see, and to see kind of like you said, like it is kind of one of these fun kind of action movies. It's funny because in one of our news stories, we're going to be talking about another Michael Bay movie, which is Ambulance, and which is like that movie didn't perform all that well in the box office. And just that whole conversation just was generating. We're going to get into it a little bit more later about is kind of, you know, when you had movies like you said, Con Air, The Rock, things like this, where you had this kind of big kind of nonstop kind of action movies kind of going on back then. Is some of that kind of lost, you know what I mean? Now that we see that on Netflix and other streaming services, do people even need to have that in the theater anymore? And as a character, as Nicolas Cage as an actor, such kind of this weird choice to be this action hero. You see him in kind of these things. What do you think?
It is, and they're both good examples of how to utilize someone as that kind of a character. In Con Air, he's this traditional action hero, but in The Rock, he's totally the opposite. He's a much more nerdy and it's him over time for the movie that he builds up the courage while still being a nerd. Like he kills one of the guys with saying like do you enjoy the song Rocket Man by Elton John? I don't listen to that soft ass shit. Yeah. Oh, well, you're going to be him, Rocket Man. This is the button that kills him with the missile.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. Hey, what's going on there, Jeremy? How you doing there, man? Tiger Woods Gaming. Hey, how you doing? How you feeling? Thanks for stopping by, man. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think there's been an equivalent or something you can compare those two movies to today, like Con Air and The Rock, you think?
I think the last similar vein movie that had mostly practical effects that was similar in the vein, not as clever as those two movies were, and they weren't super clever, but not as but was as close to as fun as you're possibly going to get with this kind of a movie. Was a movie most people didn't see, which was White House Down with Jamie Foxx and Channing Tatum.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, that movie's fucking awesome.
That's such an underrated versus Olympus Has Fallen versus White House Down. I take White House Down. James Woods is fantastic.
Any day of the week.
I take Olympus Has
James
Fallen.
Woods is a great villain.
Okay, I do like Olympus Has Fallen, but White House Down is a much more.
White House Down is the best.
It's like it's the last Roland Emmerich movie I actually like.
Yeah, but Roland Emmerich is the only person who could make like a new Die Hard movie, and he did it, and it works because he completely he got what makes these kind of a fun action movies, and then he's made the last couple of movies, and he's like forgotten all of that. So I don't know, but that was like the last one I can think of that was this great, fun, bombastic. Everyone's a character actor. Everyone at least has some sort of weird motive. I kind of get, and you just enjoy it from start to finish. Character has a semi-arc, and that's like the only equivalent I can think of at the top of my head. That was something kind of like this.
Yeah, and that movie came all the way back in what? It was 2016?
2017, I think.
Oh, actually, 2013 came out.
No, shit. Yeah, White House Down. That was 2013. That was a
holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because I remember it came out the same year. Fallen.
Yeah,
it did.
So it was like two goddamn Die Hard White House movies.
Yeah. It was just like, what was the two Meteor movies, or what was it with Armageddon?
Oh, fucking Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Deep Impact.
Yeah, that happens in Hollywood sometimes.
Yeah.
Ants, although Ants and Bug's Life is more like a sabotage from two different parties.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another one too. Yeah, Ants. Yeah, Bug's Life. Doing good, Jeremy. Yeah, just talking about Nicolas Cage. Yeah, talking about our favorite movies and discussing what we love about Nicolas Cage as an actor and his career, and doing a retrospect. Yeah, there. A lot of just kind of that craziness there. Olympus Has Fallen. I think I like that one. Maybe prefer that one with Antoine Fuqua. But White House Down. Do you think that's the best Roland Emmerich movie?
Honestly, I'm not a big Emmerich fan. I think he's kind of a mediocre director that just because he filled that niche of we haven't had a Star Wars movie in, by that point, like 30 years. He was scratching that itch for a lot of people with something like Independence.
Yeah.
It's not good. Independence Day fucking sucks, but he managed to make a couple of good movies. Stuff like White House Down, but beyond that, eh.
Yeah, Independence Day is a guilty pleasure. I enjoy the actors in it, and I enjoy it, but by no means is it a clever or even like on the same level as those other movies. Even his like first movie, like Stargate, even that's like one of his better movies, but that's a stolen concept anyways, kind of sort of, and that was done better in the TV series afterwards. But yeah, I think White House Down is like the last really good kind of this kind of action movie, because the last action movies he made, especially like Moonfall, which he just did. Oh man.
Or Midway, or
Midway.
Independence Day 2.
So what do you think all is the state of action movies now? Do you think it's mostly stuff like with the superhero stuff, or do you think it's the superhero stuff and stuff like the John Wick stuff, Atomic Blonde, the Raid movies?
I think action cinema, it is kind of a gray area, because you do get stuff that ends up being a big hit, like stuff like the superhero movies, like the John Wick films, and it's something that I think the case of both of them, they're kind of like this lightning in a bottle thing. It was like the perfect time at the right place, and you can't really replicate that, even with bringing people from that onto different projects. And there's still something missing from a lot of those knockoffs films, and that's why streaming service like Netflix is so huge. It's why you get amazing action films like Extraction or The Old Guard on a place where it's going to get the most eyes on it. Because I think if you put either of them in theaters, I do not think they do well. Mostly because both of them are not really known, recognized IPs. Hollywood is basically an IP game at this point.
Yeah. But I mean, John Wick did well. That's going to be on his 4th movie, and that got in theaters.
It was, yeah, but I think that had a lot of advanced word of mouth from the festival circuit where it premiered. Because I think John Wick was a South by movie.
Okay.
That was a South by Southwest film, and that got all of the great press from that. Very similar to how The Raid got its huge jump in the States.
Okay. Dusk?
Yeah, it's kind of a gray area at the moment, where I think people are still clamoring for this type of movie. I think this type of movie will always still be somewhat wanted. I mean, I think what a lot of times the formula for it is misunderstood. And it is often a lightning in a bottle moment. It's the right actors, the right location, the right premise. That can have a lot to it. I think most important though is you got to have characters that you somewhat care about. A lot of it that misses the fall assumes, oh, action's going to carry all of this. No, characters help carry it through, and action is the horse that helps carry that carriage. But if you don't care about what character's doing while they're doing it, you're just gonna it's just gonna be a bunch of nonsense on screen. But if you're invested in what's happening, and you should kind of like, the action can be kind of somewhat grounded, and it can build up. And when you get to that final moment, it can then go semi over the top because it's earned it. But that's a formula I think Hollywood's kind of sort of forgotten about, where we've kind of chased trends now, because as a response, John Wick was we're the stunt people. We know these attack coordinations better. Why don't we just make our own movie? Okay, let's just do that. And it's all just utilizing stunts, all utilizing these. Great. It's fantastic choreography. Phenomenal. That's one type of action movie. And then there's the superhero movies, which is more PG-13 rated, sometimes R, just kind of a bit more general audience kind of action movies with these really characters that you've grown to know and some over-the-top action. there's room for a bit more trashy, fun action, but with characters you like. There's a middle ground there. Mm-hmm. I think that's I think it's a plateau you can get into, and I think there's more than enough room for that kind of a genre to be there, and this kind of a movie type of movie franchise to kind of exist again. But you just got to have a lot of the right elements, and that just takes the right directors, the right writers, and the right just actors. An actor can carry so much of that by just their charisma and charm and who they play. What makes what I liked why I like White House Down is I love Jamie Foxx in the role. He's just having fun, really hamming it up, and Channing Tatum plays a good, like, I'm just trying to do better. I'm just trying to do better for my daughter. I'm just trying to do this, but I'm also kind of a badass. It's cliched as hell, but it works. They're able to play it well enough, and I just love that Jamie Foxx shows back up in a suit, and at one point, just to change to his Jordans. He's like, screw this. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die comfortable. I'm gonna get my Jordans. Even makes a joke about it later, and it's great. Get your hands off my Jordans.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, White House. I think action movies, they're kind of a box where even if they're good, it's like this kind of like fun, trashy kind of action, which I think a lot of the big action hits of the 2010s and on, they have kind of filled that niche. Stuff like Extraction, which is, if you like really deep dive into the story of that movie, it ain't shit. But the action, the choreography, and Hemsworth as the lead character, that's what really sells it. The Old Guard is awesome, mostly because it's carried by the entire cast with who is it? Kiki Lane, Charlize. They're both amazing in that film. I really dug the hell out of The Old Guard, and I even really liked Ambulance. Which I'm sad to see it's not doing well, but it came out the same weekend.
Any final thoughts, Dusk, on Nicolas Cage?
Nicolas Cage overall, I've been a fan of his for a long time. He's always tried to approach acting different than other actors. He's always, whatever role he does, no matter what he does, he always approaches it somewhat differently. Even if his choices in movies to take were either desperate or odd, I'm always happy to see him. I'm always looking forward to a Nicolas Cage movie. Whenever I see Nicolas Cage on the cover, I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay, at least Nicolas Cage is here. So at least something's going to happen. Or at least I'm going to get something out of him, because he's not just going to sleepwalk through a performance. Even if he has sunglasses on, he's just drinking a beer the whole time. I'm like, he's going to do something. Something's going to happen.
Willy's Wonder. Yeah, looking at you, Willy's Wonderland.
Exactly. Even if he's just doing that, I showed up as like it's kind of thing of, he's earned so much, he's done so much, he's won, and he's approached acting in a way that a lot of actors just really didn't have the guts to do. Where he's the kind of person, especially the actor, where I see him on a movie, it's a Willy's Wonderland. Like, Willy's Wonderland, I'm not seeing you for Nick Cage, I'm seeing Nick Cage that happens to be in your movie. You should thank Nick Cage for showing up.
All right, Nick.
Okay, so the two Nicolas Cages I brought to the table to talk about, they are some of my favorite bad movies of all time, and that is Ghost Rider and its sequel, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. The first Ghost Rider, it came out in 2007. It was off the heels of stuff like Daredevil, stuff like Elektra, the Fantastic Four movies, and it was kind of filling that jumping on that superhero movie craze that Hollywood was all in on throughout the early 2000s. And it's not a good movie, because this is directed by Mark Steven Johnson, who did the Ben Affleck Daredevil, and he did not improve his skills whatsoever in the direction of this. However, I think, like you were saying, Dusk, even if, like, bringing up that quote, Nicolas Cage is indispensable in bad movies because he is so much fun to watch. The scene of him transforming into the Ghost Rider the first time, it's amazing to watch because he is just losing his mind. He is going on crazy Nicolas Cage that we know and love so much. But I think the movie, it is kind of hilarious. All of the bad tropes that we associate with superheroes, they're here in spades, but I think everybody in this cast is it. It's hilarious that two teenagers grew up to become actors with a 10-year difference.
Yeah, and this Eva Mendes. This is the second time she played his love interest because she was also his love interest in Bad Port.
Oh yeah. That's right. She was the love interest and they don't really have any chemistry. The plot is kind of nonsensical, and if you look at it, doesn't really make sense with what Wes Bentley's Blackheart, what his end game is. It doesn't make sense. The villains in here, they're indispensable, but Nicolas Cage is so fun to watch that this is not a good movie, but I will watch it every single time I see it on TV, or I queue it up on my fucking hard drive. And moving on to its sequel, Spirit of Vengeance, this is a drastic shift from that first movie. The first one is shot more like a mid-2000s conventional superhero movie. This one is directed by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, a.k.a. the two, I don't know what to call them, madmen, the two geniuses, the two cocaine and Monster Energy delinquents responsible for the Crank movies, which are amazing, by the way. And speaking of great action movies, those are fucking awesome. They bring their sensibilities, their style of filmmaking to the character of Ghost Rider, this movie is, even if you thought the first Ghost Rider was crazy, this one doubles down on it, bringing a lot of that trademark sense of humor that they brought to Crank, kind of like that fairly juvenile, fairly a lot of gag based jokes, but for the most part, it worked for me. And Nicolas Cage once again bring it, and you have that icon actively trying to hold back the Ghost Rider with that amazing scene of he's scraping at the door. And it's like, I'm gonna let him out. I don't know if he's like, the amazing dedication and the design of incredible. It looks like a skeleton that is actually on fire. And fun fact, Nicolas Cage literally lit himself on fire for these. That is called dedication to your craft. Get fucked, Jared Leto.
And then also, I mean, Nicolas Cage is a big superhero fan. He is a big comic book fan. I mean, even his last name Cage comes from Luke Cage.
That's where he gets his name. He has a tattoo of Superman on his he has a tattoo of Superman symbol on his arm.
Yeah, he was supposed to play in Superman Lives, and then he finally got to voice him in Teen Titans Go to the Moon.
Yeah, nice callback to that. When you get to voice that character, and this was a sequel that was 6 years later after the first one, because the first one came out in 2007. This is 2012 that this came out.
This came out 2011. That's what I have listed on the.
Okay.
And it's very much a soft reboot. I think this came out off the heels of Punisher Warzone, because it has that Marvel Knights logo.
Ah, okay. And who distributed Ghost Rider? Who distributed this movie?
I don't know. I think Ghost Rider was a Fox character for a while. He was kind of in that bubble until Disney finally got him back and they put him on the Shield.
Yeah, and with the new version of Ghost Rider, he's played by what was it? Gabriel Reyes was his name, or
Gabriel Luna, who plays
Luna.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, which I did like him on Agents of Shield. I thought that was really good. Like the Ghost Rider character being on Agents of Shield. I don't think I ever saw the Ghost Rider movies myself. I think the only thing I really remember from, especially from the sequel, was like the trailer where it showed him pissing fire. I remember that.
Yeah, they use that joke twice, which it is very much that kind of juvenile frat boy sense of humor. But I think the entire movie is goofy enough that I think it works.
Yeah. And why'd you pick these two?
These two, because when we talk about Nicolas Cage and we talk about how even in something bad, he is committing 100% to it. He is all in, and no more is that true than I think that's no more true than in these films, because any conventional standard, and you take Nicolas Cage out and replace him with another actor, these two films are going down in history as the two worst superhero movies of all time. But there's something about his screen presence, the odd madcap choices that he makes when playing Johnny Blaze, that somehow, in spite of everything going against these films, they still work.
Which is worse, Morbius or this?
Oh, fuck Morbius.
So
remember, Josh, apathy is death.
And I keep saying this, I'd rather bad but insane and having fun with it, very much like they do with these two Ghost Rider movies, than shitting out a product for reasons, or fucking Jared Leto's ego. I don't fucking know. Fuck that movie. Fuck Jared Leto. Fuck Sony.
Okay, yeah. Wow, yeah. Sam Elliott.
Praise Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Sam Elliott. He's also in this first.
Sam Elliott. He's the first. He's in the first Ghost Rider. Well, don't ever hint that cowboys can be gay around him in that movie. But I think he brings a lot of screen presence to it. It's a very nothing character that I think in the hands of a lesser actor it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Because he has lines like "Morning Bonehead."
So as Ghost Rider as a character, did you know much about him, or?
I didn't know much about the character. I think when I was a kid, I got one of those like toys. It was like a Ghost Rider action figure, and it came with a free comic, but it was kind of like in the middle of a story arc that was taken way out of context. But I thought the look and the design of the character was real. I liked the power set that he had, and I wanted to know more about it. And I was really excited to see the Ghost Rider movie when it came out. And I think I played the crappy tie-in video game, which is actually, in terms of movie tie-in video games, the Ghost Rider game isn't bad.
Nice. So Nicolas Cage, I mean, he's had, kind of failed at his attempt at being a superhero. What superhero do you think he kind of would work as?
I don't think you should cast Nicolas Cage as a superhero. I think he should be the super villain. I think he's insane enough and would be 100% committed enough that I would like to see him be Professor Pig in a Matt Reeves Batman movie.
Interesting. Well, he said he wanted to maybe play Eggman. He'd love to come in as Eggman. So
I'd love him to be Condiment King.
Condiment King.
Eggman, Condiment King. I actually wouldn't mind as a nice callback. I think he could pull it off as Mephisto. He'd pull it off as a Mephisto.
That would be
being unhinged.
That would be
You're here to make a deal, or you're not.
Are you here to make a deal?
Yeah,
make a deal.
Yeah, and the devil in anytime the character plays a devil in anything, an actor, they always steal the show and everything they're ever in. As someone in the devil.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah. So anything else that you want to say about Nicolas Cage and his career and thing?
Nicolas Cage, he is gonna go down in history as one of the greatest talents that we've ever had the pleasure of witnessing, but also one of the weirdest and it's one of those things, because you get actors like Liam Neeson's, like the Bruce Willis, like the Robert De Niro's, who they, after like a couple years of this amazing run of films, amazing performances, they just stop caring. And something that you can never say about Nicolas Cage, and even if he is in the worst movie possible, he is bringing his A game. He is dedicated to his craft, which is always a joy to watch, and why I think a lot of bad Cage movies, I put them over any of the like shitty run of films that any of those previous mentioned actors did.
Okay. Interesting. Man. Okay. All right. I'll go with me. I'm last up. So I'm gonna be going with Face Off. Face Off is a classic. So Face Off is the movie with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, which also was originally supposed to be Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. Which I cannot really see that at all, really, the both of them. I just think there's something unique about Nicolas Cage and John Travolta both playing each other. This is also directed by John Woo, who John Woo's kind of taking over Hollywood at this point, like kind of coming over after this.
They brought him over because of the success of stuff like Hard Boiled, of a lot of his films from China, and they wanted to replicate that talent here. Was this before or after Mission Impossible 2?
This was before.
I think that was like his.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was after stuff like Hard Target, after Broken Arrow.
Yeah, because Mission Impossible 2 came out in 2000, and this is 97. So I think, off the success of this, they were like, we're going to give you Mission Impossible 2, which Mission Impossible 2 is still the worst Mission Impossible movie.
It is.
It's a lot of fun, but it's terrible.
Yeah, they try to bring that sensibility of John Woo's style to Mission Impossible, and it just didn't work. I mean, they didn't make another Mission Impossible movie for what, like 7 years after that? Because when was the J.J. Abrams Mission Impossible 3? When was that one? That was 07?
I think that was like 2005.
5? Okay. Yeah, close. 2006. So yeah.
Off by 1.
Yeah, I went up 1 and you went below 1. Yeah, so it was 06. So John Woo, he was coming over, like you said, huge success in China, from movies like Hard Boil with Chow Yun-fat. One of the greatest, that's cited as Hard Boil as being one of the greatest action movies ever made. That, and then also like Hard Target, as you mentioned. Yeah, so he was like getting all this huge word of mouth. They brought him over to do Face Off. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I tried to do something that was kind of like that peak Nicolas Cage stuff, and this is part of his holy trinity, as some people call it, of his action movies, because this was in 97. 97 was also the same year Con Air, and then 1 year before this was also The Rock. So Nicolas Cage he was having a great kind of series of movies back to back to back. I mean, The Rock, Con Air, and then this. Even though at the time, I think Con Air wasn't that much well received. Because I think the same year, also 1997, was Air Force One, which was the movie with Harrison Ford, where it was Die Hard on a plane. And I think more people, at that time, loved Air Force One more than they loved Con Air at the time. I mean, this movie, it has that kind of style. I mean, even the opening of this movie, you see Nicolas Cage dressed as a priest, the dancing, the faces he makes, that gets gift a lot.
The fucking headbanging to Hallelujah.
Yeah. So it's just, that was just funny to me. And I hadn't seen, because I was watching a string of Nicolas Cage movies. I was watching this. I was watching Leaving Las Vegas, Con Air, Willy's Wonderland. What was the other one I watched? The Rock. Just to get prepared for this show and to see, the wide variety, of range that he has, with a lot of these different performances. And I think that's, most of what, people will say about his performances, of how he can be so kind of over the top. And I think at that point, it's with a lot of his movies now, it's kind of like, it seems like every new movie comes out, somebody will say, like, this is the craziest Nicolas Cage movie yet. They say that every kind of one of his movies. They'll say that about...
bitch, please, we've seen Face Off.
Yeah, Face Off. They'll say that about Mandy. They'll say that about, this is the craziest Nicolas Cage movie. Yeah, Willy's Wonderland. There's some person else say that. But this one, first of all, the action in it is, really, really good stuff. And seeing kind of the both of how much they really played into each other. John Travolta playing into Nicolas Cage, and how much time they really spent beforehand getting to know each other. Hey, thank you, Terry Thompson. Thanks for coming in for the lurk, man. Much appreciated. And yeah, and to see kind of both of them is really in the just insane premise of I'm going to take his face off and put it on another person's face, because it's all about Nicolas Cage, who plays this terrorist, who's like a terrorist contractor, I guess. He works for other terrorists to do other terrorist stuff, and he plants this bomb, which he sets the bomb for 11 days, which is a long ass time for a bomb. That's pretty fucking long.
It's like
oh, you gonna say something?
It's like you did. It's like you didn't think that maybe, I don't know, move the date up, or but who cares? Movie has to happen.
Yeah. And you see kind of the beginning of this. Nicolas Cage is responsible for killing John Travolta's son. He tries to kill him, but the bullet goes through him and ends up hitting the son. And that's kind of sets this mission out on John Travolta. Basically, this enemy, he's going to get him. He's going to get this terrorist, get Nicolas Cage, and this rivalry between these two people. And yeah, everything about him is just extra over the top of the Nicolas Cage performance as Castor Troy. The way he just interacts with women. I mean, just grabbing ass and just kissing, head banging hallelujah. The two guns that you also see in the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. You see the two golden guns make
the golden guns.
Kind of make an appearance here that show up. Yeah, I mean, this movie is it is a lot of fun and it is absolutely crazy. And I do very kind of much appreciate that. And it's a classic. I mean, it really is a classic amongst kind of action films, and sets the tone for a lot of modern action films today. I really do feel like that. And yeah, I mean, you don't see too much craziness like this anymore. Really, too much today. Which I really did appreciate for that. What are kind of your guys' thoughts on Face Off there?
Face Off is one of my favorite action movies of all time. Not just because of how insane its premise is. It's made by the performances by both Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, and how they perfectly mirror each other once the actual swap happened. Because I'd argue this is probably one of my favorite Travolta performances ever, especially when he becomes Castor Troy. And just how insane he is, and all the mannerisms, and how playful he is. This is basically Nicolas Cage's audition to play the Joker, and it's awesome.
Dust?
A few months ago, I showed a friend of mine Face Off, and he was like, "This is the most ridiculous movie I've ever watched." And I said, "Did you enjoy it?" He went, "Hell yeah."
That's the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen. And did you have fun? Fuck yeah, I did.
Yeah, basically, he's just like, that's amazing. So I still show this movie to people if I've heard they've never seen Face Off and I know they'd like it. I'm always all right, top recommendation. I cannot recommend Face Off more than possible. I've shown the same friend also The Rock, and I think after this conversation, I'll put on the list Con Air as an additional what I'll show him as well, because I know he'll enjoy that. But yeah, man, Face Off is such a great movie, such a great fun movie, and one of John Woo's best, actually.
I think it might be his best American film.
Yeah, specifically under that, his American films.
Yeah, because what other American movies he did? Mission Impossible. You have this Face Off.
Yeah, Mission Impossible 2, Broken Arrow.
Broken Arrow.
No, Ang Lee was the Hulk.
I'm sorry, yeah, Ang Lee did the Hulk, my bad.
Yeah. Don't put that evil on John Woo. Don't put the Hulk
on. Oh, come on, man. Every director's had he's got enough already. Ang Lee also that was one of his only really bad movies.
He did Paycheck, the Ben Affleck and the Thurman movie. He did I think that might be his last American picture. Wind Talkers, which also had a...
Oh, would you say you cut out? What'd you say?
Oh, he also did Wind Talkers, which is also starred Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, because I'm looking at a lot of the reviews here for these movies. Yeah, I mean, the only one that got really glowing reviews was Face Off. Everything else, like, yeah, Wind Talkers, Paycheck, Mission Impossible 2. I haven't seen Wind Talkers or Paycheck. I've only I've seen Face Off and I've seen Mission Impossible 2. His just with his American movies. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, Paycheck kind of sucks, but it's fun.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, like I said, I already don't like Mission Impossible 2. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, out of those films, I think out of his American movies, yeah, Face Off would be maybe, safe to say Face Off is the best one. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. I mean, I think, like I said, it is a very fun movie. It is absolutely crazy. I would recommend just watching Face Off, Con Air, The Rock. Yeah, sure, why not? Watching kind of all of those ones, because I think you'll be in kind of for a good time. I mean, it's Nicolas Cage. I mean, he was kind of, I guess, I don't know. I mean, a little bit of an unconventional looking action star. I mean, obviously he was, like I said, he got in really good shape. Con Air, especially, he looked really yoked up in Con Air. And then even in The Rock, I mean, he's because he's a taller guy, so muscle kind of looks pretty good on him. Yeah, but yeah, absolutely kind of impressive. And has one of my favorite Nicolas Cage lines, the "I want to take his face off" line. Just that delivery.
I want to take his face off.
I mean, yeah. And also,
you got to do the voice in the hands with.
Yeah, and it also goes to the thing of this was also like in like his movies. He always has to name his movies in the movie. Like always has to have that moment, the face off moment with The Rock. He's like, "Welcome to The Rock," and then even in Con Air, John Malkovich would say, "Welcome to Con Air," So yeah, you always got to have that moment.
It was really weird when he said, "You know what? I'm the Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance."
Yeah,
yeah. He does say Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, he's had a great career, that he should be happy and proud of. Look back on it. A lot of people who love him. I think he's in the list of those people like Brendan Fraser, or who's another one that's kind of really beloved right now, an actor.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, yeah, him. Yeah, kind of in that pantheon of actors who's got this great filmography. Really liked. You ever hear anything really too negative about? I've never heard anything super negative about Nicolas Cage. You know what I mean? I've never really heard anything about that. So yeah, it seems like cool guy.
The only negative I've heard is he drinks a lot.
Drinks a lot, yeah. And
that's gotten him in trouble in the past. Mostly just making bad decisions when he's drunk.
Okay. Yeah, buying, getting drunk, buying, on eBay, buying dinosaur bones.
Bought a whole ass castle.
Yeah. Or marrying a woman after he's only known her for like a couple of evenings, and then immediately wanting a divorce, and she wants half. Ooh. Even the court went like, "Nah, just get it, just leave. I'm annulling that." Yeah. Even the court went like, "Yeah, you took advantage of him being drunk."
Yeah. Marrying Elvis's daughter to be more like Elvis. But hey, he's out there for sure. That was a great discussion. All about Nicolas Cage there. Yeah, very nice career.